We are now live on YouTube and Facebook. So, Boker Tov, and big warm welcome to our daily learning program, Lockdown Inspiration. Thank you for joining us. I see people are logging on Facebook and YouTube as we speak. So, welcome aboard and welcome back. I hope you're all keeping well, keeping warm, keeping safe. And thank you for joining us once again as we engage and discuss and talk through things that are important to us. Okay, we're just going to give it some time for people to log on. I see people are logging on as we're speaking. So let's allow for that to come through. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Nice to have everyone here. Good stuff. Okay, we're going to welcome everyone personally. Thank you for all posting on Facebook and YouTube. Fantastic. Let's see who's joined us here and who's greeted us personally. Hello, Helen Feinstein, David Ginsberg, Michael Stein, Boker Tov, Anne Hack. Thank you very much, Tracy Mindel. Thank you. Larry Cohen. Good stuff. Aline Delovitz, Sharon Diamond, Shamaine Shatkin. Great stuff. That's on Facebook. On YouTube, we want to welcome Manfred Kalmek, Raylene and Stan Brask, Donna Lovitz, Ian Clemenson, Stephen Herr. And we'll dedicate the learning Le'ilui Nishmat in memory of your mother, Esther Bat Moshe, Vega Sega, Ronnie Kotkus. Good morning. Good morning to one and all. It's fantastic having you all here with us once again on this glorious sunny winter's morning or autumn morning. Good to see you all. We're also going to dedicate hi, Simeon Angel on Facebook. We're also going to dedicate today's discussion to the Refuah Shalema of Shmuel ben Ita Mira. And may he be well and healthy and strong. Okay, just waiting a minute or so longer for people to log on. Great stuff. Okay, let's get going here. Shelly Smith, hi, good morning. Moritz Walken, good morning. So we got a great crowd. Thank you. We got over 35 people. Jaime and Linda, good to have you all here. Wonderful. D. Tanner from Cape Town. Anybody else here from out of Johannesburg? Let us know. D. Tanner from Cape Town. If you're tuning in from around Israel or Australia or America or even around the country, let us know. We'd love to hear from the out-of-towners who's with us today. Or even if you watch this later in the afternoon, let us know. Boker Tov, Gary Sachs. You saw my question that I posed on both Facebook and YouTube. You may have seen that the question was equality or inequality. That's the question of today, equality or inequality. Does Torah promote equality? Does Torah promote equality? I am out of my mind. Does that count? What do you mean by that? Michael, what do you mean by that? Let us know. Okay. Michael, what did you mean by that? I'm out of my mind. Sorry, Rob. Wrong message. Okay. So, Michael, just clarify that comment. Equality or inequality is the question of today. So, let's go back to Korach's argument. This week's parasha is Parashat Korach. Right? Hi, Lionel Rubin and Dennis Solomons. Good morning. This week's parasha is Parashat Korach. And Korach, we know, belonged to the family of the Leviim. He was part of the family of Kahat. I spoke about this, if I'm not mistaken, on Sunday. We spoke about yichus and genealogy and heritage and parents and grandparents. So we know that Korach comes from the family of Levi. He belongs to the family of Levi. But so did Moshe and Aaron. Moshe and Aaron also come from the family of Levi. Right? They too are part of the family of Levi. So what was Korach's complaint? Why was Korach leading this rebellion against Moshe? What did he want? What was bothering him? Did he want to be the leader too, or Habanis? What was exactly Korach's issue? So if you look at the wording inside the Torah's wording and you read the commentaries, there's different takes on this. But one take on this is that Korach was bothered by the hierarchy of the Jewish community. The hierarchy of the Jewish community. Moshe Rabbeinu on top, and Aaron being the Kohen, and there's this guy in charge and that guy in charge. And that bothered Korach. Korach was disturbed by the hierarchy within the Jewish community. And his complaint was, Kulam Kedoshim. We're all holy. Kulam Kedoshim, we're all holy. Why should Moshe take a front role or Aaron take a front role? We can all take a front role. That's our job. We all play an important role. And he supported that. He said, at the foot of Mount Sinai, we all sat together at the foot of Mount Sinai, at Har Sinai. That's what we did there. We were all there together. Men, women, older, younger, every category of society, of the Jewish community, was present at the foot of Mount Sinai, at Har Sinai. So what gives you, Moshe, the role? It's true that Moshe Rabbeinu was the one that climbed the mountain, but nonetheless, we were all there, standing by the mountain, receiving the Torah. And therefore, Kulam Kadoshim, there shouldn't be any segregation. There shouldn't be any inequality and hierarchy within the community at all. Well, let's point it out that Korach saw hierarchy as a contradiction to equality. That was Korach's problem. What's your take on that? Please share. Is hierarchy a contradiction to equality? Korach said, Kulam Kedoshim. We're all holy. If we're all holy, we're all equal. If we're all equal, what are you doing on top? So the hierarchy was a contradiction in Korach's mind to equality. I'd love to hear what you have to say about that. Is hierarchy a contradiction to equality? Must hierarchy be a contradiction to equality? Let me know your thoughts on the comments, either on Facebook or YouTube. I'd love to hear from you and engage with you. In the meantime, welcome to one and all who have joined us here. We have close to 40 viewers on Facebook and YouTube combined. So thank you very much for joining. And if you just joined and you haven't said hello, then why don't you say hello and greet us in the comments? If the Facebookers are happy to like the video and share it, I'd appreciate that very much so others can see what you're up to. And once again, if you have any comments on this point, hierarchy, equality, let us know your view. Korach was passionate about that. He said, if we're all equal, there's no room for hierarchy. David Seif, I see your comment on YouTube. David, it's the same link every day. Just use that same link. Okay, it's youtube.com/Rabbi Stern/live. It's the same link every day for this session at 10:30 in the morning. So thank you for being here this morning. Now, obviously, we know. Oh, now I'm seeing comments coming through. Okay, here we go. Michael Stein, thank you for your comment. I don't believe so. Everyone has their talent and importance in the unified body of Klal Yisrael. Right. Michael Stein is saying, I think that hierarchy is not a contradiction, does not necessarily have to be a contradiction to equality. Everyone has their talent. Everyone has their importance in the unified body of Klal Yisrael. We just don't appreciate and accept what we have and who we are. And I guess Michael's saying the more we appreciate, the more we accept who we are, the more we won't be bothered by hierarchy. Thank you, Michael. Ian Clemenson. Okay, guys, this is getting good. Keep on posting. Okay, we love engaging here, having a conversation. I appreciate that input. Ian Clemenson writes on YouTube. He says, depends how the hierarchy is chosen. Well, good point. Depends on the hierarchy, how the hierarchy is chosen. Right, so Ian's suggesting that if the hierarchy is a dictatorship, then that's definitely a compromise to equality. But if the hierarchy is selected through a transparent process, hi Arnold Orkin, welcome. If the hierarchy is chosen through a transparent selection process, and that selection process can differ in many different ways. There's democratic votes, or there's a board that's responsible or leads the way. There's all sorts of ways that could happen, but I guess it all depends on the structure of the hierarchy. Very good. Okay, that's fine. But Ian and Dennis, I think what we can both all agree on, you're absolutely right. It depends on how hierarchy is chosen. But hierarchy itself doesn't have to be a contradiction to equality. That's one thing we have to establish. You're right. It depends on how the hierarchy is implemented and the structure of the hierarchy. But a hierarchy in its own right doesn't necessarily have to be a contradiction to equality. And Korach saw it as a contradiction to equality. Korach said, Kulam Kadoshim, who selected you? Simeon Angel, hierarchy is somewhat subjective. The structure is set, but the importance of the positions are somewhat subjective. So meaning, Simeon, do you mean that it's up to each leader on how he governs, so to speak, or how he runs the hierarchy? So the structure is set. That's more like Ian Clemenson and Dennis were saying on YouTube, that you're going to have a structure in place, and the structure has to be moral and ethical and legal and loyal, etc. And what I mean by hierarchy being subjective is each person will carry his role in whatever particular way he chooses or he prefers. Right, okay, that's true. That's true. So again, hierarchy is not necessarily a contradiction to equality. I think we can all agree on that point. But let me know. I enjoy these comments because it clarifies the point. It's important to clarify. Can you imagine a corner piece of a puzzle wanting to be in the middle of the puzzle? Great analogy, Simeon. Can you imagine a corner piece of a puzzle wanting to be in the middle of a puzzle? Exactly. Society cannot function on total society cannot function on total I won't even say equality. Society can't function on total the plateau of society, everyone the same. Each position comes with its role, but without each piece of the puzzle, you don't have a full picture. Exactly. So what we just say, so Korach was asking, he was asking for equality with the exclusion of hierarchy, because you, Moshe Rabbeinu, on top are only a contradiction to us all being holy. And Moshe comes back to Korach, and he says to Korach, you've got it wrong. God chose this. Hashem wanted this structure. Hashem wanted this structure in place. We spoke about structure. We spoke about hierarchy. God wanted this hierarchy in place. That was Hashem's choice. Are you saying it's wrong? It's not wrong. God also, right, exactly. Ronnie Kotkas on YouTube. Hashem chose Moshe. Exactly. God chose Moshe. So God put in place structure and hierarchy. The puzzle analogy is brilliant. So there you go. We're communicating from YouTube to Facebook. Simeon Angel gave the analogy of the puzzle. Ian Clemenson on YouTube says it's a great, brilliant analogy. So Hashem chose Moshe. So Hashem says to Korach, God chose Moshe as a leader. God put structure in place. God chose hierarchy. But the same God also chose equality. How all members of the community are equal. No matter what piece of the puzzle you fit into, we are all equal. Mandy's question on Facebook is, why did he want a hierarchy if we're all equal? Again, why did God want the hierarchy if we're all equal? My answer, I'd love to know your answer, so please do share answers, guys. All of us seem to agree that hierarchy is not a contradiction to equality. God put in place Moshe. God chose the hierarchy and structure. Why did he want it that way if we're all equal? And I think the answer to that is that hierarchy is what ensures the operational functioning of society. This is to answer Mandy's point. We've got to have a hierarchy, because if there's no hierarchy, there's absolute chaos. If everyone's equal, which they are, and everyone has an equal say or an equal final opinion, without a hierarchy that escalates the decision to a higher level, we're going to have total chaos. Even the Sanhedrin, even the Beth Din in Yerushalayim, we know that the high courts of Yerushalayim had a process of appeal, because ultimately there's got to be a process of hierarchy. So you go to a Beth Din of 3 Dayanim, 3 judges, and then you go to a Sanhedrin of 23 judges, and then you go to the high Sanhedrin of 72 judges. That's how the process goes. Because eventually someone's going to have to make the decision. If there's no one who's got the hat on his head, if no one's wearing that role, if no one's carrying that role of Moshe Rabbeinu, then who's going to make decisions? One day it's Korach, and one day it's Datan and Aviram, and one day it's this guy, and one day it's that guy. How do you create any structure without a hierarchy? So the hierarchy was in place not to take away the rights of the individuals. The hierarchy was in place not to compromise equality, but rather to create structure around equality, to give society structure. And there's nothing wrong with having someone as a leader who leads everyone along, but at the same time carries the responsibility and the final word. Simeon writes, it somewhat mimics the setup of how the angels sustained the world with Hashem being on top. Interesting. Angels sustain the world with Hashem being on top. I'll tell you why that's slightly different, Simeon. Why the analogy of the angels sustaining the world. I see your example. And Ian, I'm going to come back to Simeon. Ian writes that sadly, because of human behavior, things can become corrupted. Helen writes, you need a leader. Yeah, you do need a leader. Ian says things can become corrupted. That's right, because human beings are imperfect and their behavior is a lot to be desired. And therefore, the structures of hierarchy, although set up by God, can be corrupted, because those people who are carrying the final decision and are sitting in the top positions can be corrupt, self-focused, selfish, in it for themselves, and that's what corrupts the entire establishment. Absolutely. Simeon, I'll tell you why it's slightly different to the angels. Because the angels don't have any say. The angels have no say at all in front of God, especially when they're on a mission and have a purpose in this world. So angels don't carry any role whatsoever. To answer Simeon's question on Facebook, angels don't carry any role whatsoever, have no opinion whatsoever in the way God runs the world. They are just fulfilling. The analogy we use is they are like an axe in the hands of the woodchopper. That's all they are, an axe in the hands of the woodchopper. Whereas the way the world runs, and with our hierarchy in place, whether it's the prime minister or president or whatever other or business owner, CEO, whatever the hierarchy is, the point of equality, the value of equality means we all have a say. That's what equality promotes, that we all have a say and we all have an opinion. Not necessarily is our opinion going to be the opinion. Not necessarily does the business of the country or the whatever it is, the family, run based on the individual views of the individuals. But we all have a say, and we should be heard in our say. That's a critical Jewish value. We should all have a say and be heard to have our say. So equality is a fundamental principle. And hierarchy is not a conflict or a contradiction to equality. I'm going to pause here for a moment to welcome everyone online who's joining us. We've got close to 40 viewers between Facebook and YouTube. If you're just joining now, please do share a comment or say hello to us. We want to greet you personally. If you have a question, thank you to those already who are engaging. It's fantastic on both platforms in the chat box. If you have a question or a comment, please feel free to post it. Gary Sachs writes on Facebook, hierarchy, if done right, should ensure that each individual within the hierarchy is looked after, perhaps. Good, not perhaps, that's exactly right. It's the role of the hierarchy to ensure that everyone has a say and to ensure that everyone has a view and is looked after. Absolutely. So it should not be a conflict. It can be a conflict, but it should not be a conflict to what equality promotes. Moshe Rabbeinu taught us an important lesson. Moshe Rabbeinu taught us, on the one hand, oh, wow, look at this, guys. I love your comments. Okay, so I'm going to come to David Seif on YouTube. We can't really avoid hierarchies. In their structure, we look up to and respect someone above others. Rabbonim, leaders of shuls, businesses, governments, etc. We need to have it in place. That's true. Simeon Angel on Facebook. Yeah, hence somewhat. Right, I get that. But more on the structure, as Hashem wouldn't need to have angels. But he sets the structure up for a reason. And there's always spiritual representation of the physical. I'm scared to press on that button because I may lose the window on my camera. So just give me a second here while I find that comment of Simeon's. There we go. Here we go. But he sets the structure up for a reason, and there is always spiritual representation of the physical, but definitely hear you. Okay, thank you, Simeon. Right. But what Yaakov Avinu taught us, something very important. Sorry, Moshe Rabbeinu taught us something very important. Moshe taught us that having a Moshe is important. How are we going to know what God has in mind? How are we going to know what to do and how to do? How are we going to know how to practice as Jewish people? How are we going to know how to be better Jews? How are we going to know what the Torah has in mind or what God has in mind? We need to have rabbis. We need to have interpreters. We need to have leaders and sages and business CEOs and government CEOs because they're the ones that gather the information for us. They're the ones that do the research. They're the ones that know better. They're the ones that have the resources. So Moshe taught us that God appointed him because having a leader in place, especially in religious context, especially in Jewish community, especially in the religious connection to Hashem, we've got to have a Moshe because Moshe's role as a leader is to give us vision, give us direction, show us how to connect to Hashem. That's so true. Murad Walken. Okay, Mora, I like your question. Any equality in the Beth Din, no women sitting as a judge? Okay, so is that equality? Is that a lack of equality? The fact that there's no women sitting in the Beth Din as a judge? Very, very good question. Is that a sign of equality? Well, Mora, thank you for your question. You're absolutely right. But again, I'm not sure if having a structure in place with different roles and responsibilities is a conflict or contradiction to equality. Having a Beth Din with men, and I'm not getting into right now why the Beth Din is formed from men and not women, but having a Beth Din of men alone, is that a contradiction to equality? What happens if the women have other roles and other responsibilities? And I don't mean, God forbid, they belong in the kitchen as the horrendous memes and jokes often say. I don't mean that at all. But within community, within families, within communities, within, why must the Beth Din be that role? If the Beth Din and the regulation is men on the Beth Din, but women carry other responsibilities and other roles in society, is that a conflict and contradiction to equality? I don't think so. I think the point we emphasized throughout this discussion was that there's different roles and responsibilities. Just like the hierarchy doesn't necessarily have to be a contradiction to equality, because it just means we each carry our role and responsibility. I'm not sure if having men on the Beth Din is a contradiction to equality. If others have any views on Mora's comment, please do let me know. And I'd be very, very happy to engage. Thank you for your question, Mora. Mora, thank you. So Moshe taught us two things. And let me just coming back to my original point. Feel free to keep on posting. I'm enjoying the comments and the questions that are coming through. So thank you. In terms of Moshe, so Moshe showed us, on the one hand, it's important to have a Moshe. It's important to have a leader who's going to guide us and inspire us and motivate us and show us what the right way is and what God's intention is. At the same time, he taught us how every single person is precious. Every single person is valuable. Every single person has a role and a voice in the community. Gary Sachs writes, similar to having separate boys and girls schools. Okay, that's slightly, that's got to do with morality, with the children growing up, their social environment. But at the same time, and I think Judaism promotes that, everyone's got a voice. Everyone has a say. We could all be part of the sustainability and the future of the community. And we need women and men and children all to be part of the infrastructure, because that's what makes us stronger and better in what we're doing. And that's okay. And a true leader is one who gives a voice to the people. A true prime minister or president, but let's take it in religious context. A true rabbi is one who empowers the people to take a role, speak up, be leaders, make a change. Yes, with respect, yes, with guidance, but don't be a follower, be a leader, because we all have the ability to be leaders, like Korach demanded. And by the way, that's one of the lessons we learn from Korach, which many of the commentaries point out, and that is Korach was adamant to be a leader. We should all be adamant to be a leader. Helen Feinstein mentioned that not everyone can be a leader. We can all be leaders in our different ways. It could be in the classroom for a teacher, or it could be in the family for a parent. We can all be leaders. That was Korach's point. Let us all be leaders and carry on. Moshe, the true leader, will give us all a voice. He'll empower us to be those leaders. Ian writes an ongoing, very difficult question on the role of women. I think Ian's addressing Moira's question, both on YouTube. An ongoing discussion on the role of women. Sota is a case in point. Yes, you learned Gemara Sota, which is a very, very fascinating but complexing piece of Talmud, and definitely a very important question. So today we've spoken about equality or inequality. We've spoken about hierarchy. We've spoken about Moshe's role. We've spoken about the role of people, the role of society, the role of having a voice and having a say and making a change and making a difference in the world that we've all got the ability to do. That we've all got the ability. At the same time, we do need to have our Moshe Rabbeinus. We do need to have our great leaders. We do need to have visionaries and guides who are going to guide the community and empower the community. And the two can work hand in hand. We can have a hierarchy that's established for the community. It's a structure put in place that works. At the same time, that same structure empowers us to have a voice. And that, I believe, is the approach that Torah takes and the mistake that Korach made in his discussions with Moshe Rabbeinu. Thank you all for a great discussion today, and thank you for contributing to the conversation. It's been wonderful having you all here. We'll be back here tomorrow morning, 10:30, on Facebook and YouTube. Just keep in mind that tonight is a very important day on the calendar. It's the 26th Yortzeit of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. We know how much the Rebbe cared about South Africa, how much correspondence the Rebbe had with the African Jewry over the years. He very, very much had South African Jewry on his radar, and South African Jewry is going to be observing his Yortzeit tonight with a joint national program. So the poster's been sent out on Facebook, all over. Please feel free to check out the details. Join us tonight for that program at 7:30 this evening on the web. And tomorrow we'll dedicate our learning tomorrow morning to the lessons I've learned from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day. And thanks for your feedback. Much appreciated. God bless. Keep safe. Keep safe. Keep sane. And keep spiritual.